Hi, welcome back to my garden. Another week has flown by, and in fact, in the context of today, Friday the 7th of March, another year has flown by. Yes, it's time to do my version of that song. No, I'm not going to sing for you, but happy birthday to me! 58 years. Who would have thought it? Well, looking at this image, my white beard, well, it probably doesn't come as a huge surprise. Anyway, today's my birthday. It's been a great day so far. I'm sure you're glad to hear, including a nice glass of wine and a birthday cake. Simple but very tasty that my wife made for me. So, lovely day. Yesterday was a more bureaucratic sort of day where I went to the local clinic. Fairly routine thing. Needed seeing to. Well, you can see it, a little spot on my forehead. I have them, they pop up from time to time. Dare I say it, something that comes with age. That, like cysts. Benign. I'm sorry to bore you with all these medical details, but it's kind of leads into the story. Yes, I've had these before and done nothing to worry about, but I need to see our local doctor to get an appointment to see a dermatologist. So there we are. So I was waiting, and a lady in the waiting room was bemoaning her state, let's call it that. She wasn't as pretty as she used to be. She's getting old. Woe is me. And it's a kind of common theme, really. A lot of people do approach this whole business of aging in a rather depressing sort of way. Dare I say it, morbid. And of course, I don't want to suggest that aging isn't a thing. Of course it is. We all grow old. And coming with that territory are changes, physical changes, and perhaps also some mental ones. And we have to deal with it. But it does strike me that now more than ever, or perhaps not, perhaps it was always like this, we are living in times of a cult of youth. I mean, social media doesn't help, the images we see. And I think it's worth examining, if nothing else, to give me something to witter on about on my 58th birthday. It's worth examining what's going on here. Why we have this problem with growing old, given that it's, frankly, inevitable. If nothing else, it's something to celebrate. Because obviously, if we are growing older, it's because we're still alive, and that is wonderful. So, putting to one side all the issues of perhaps changes in our physiological and mental well-being as we get older, putting all that to one side, it seems to me that there are two real issues that we have with this business of aging. The one is a sort of mixture of nostalgia and regret for the past. We think back to our youth, remember those good times, and perhaps also, and this is where the regret comes in, start asking ourselves whether we made the most of our opportunities. So, on the one hand, we are somewhat, I don't want to say depressed, but we feel a sense of loss. You know, there was all these fantastic things we enjoyed when we were young and carefree, and now we don't. And at the same time, there is that regret. regret that we didn't do certain things. But I think when you look at that and pick it apart, sort of take it to one more step of analysis, what's going on is implicit in that nostalgia and regret is a feeling that the things that we regret we didn't do and that we miss that we did do just aren't possible anymore. And that's a big problem. That is an enormous problem. And I think it's false. We buy into a story that we do certain things at certain times of our life, and when those times have passed, the possibility of doing those things is over. It's not true. Perhaps to some degree it was true in the past. And of course, perhaps to some degree, we face constraints as we get older. Constraints that are to do with the practicalities of life, paying bills, family responsibilities, all those sorts of things. But this idea that there are things that you simply cannot do anymore because you've got a little bit older. And I'm not sure how old you are. There are people who watch these videos, I know, probably spanning 4 decades. Not many people watching these videos, but I think there's quite a wide age range, if only because I was a school teacher for a while, and some of my ex-students have, for reasons best known to themselves, become viewers of my videos from time to time. So we have this feeling that we reach a certain point and doors have slammed shut. Yet, if you cast your net wide out there in the internet, YouTube videos, you will find no shortage of inspiring examples. People who went to college in their 70s or 80s even. People who became overcame lethargy, sorted themselves out physically, and became essentially professional athletes. Perhaps not on the grandest stage, but doing jobs that celebrate exercise. Again, well into their 70s. There was a fantastic video I saw once, I've mentioned it before, some years ago probably, of a Chinese actor who's, and his daughter lived in America. She was involved in the fashion industry in some way or another. And in this little video, amongst 2 of his accomplishments as a late septuagenarian were modeling clothes on the runway somewhere in New York for his daughter. And he was modeling clothes, sort of wearing flowing, loose-fitting trousers and a waistcoat. And, well, the beard and maybe some facial wrinkles suggested late 70s, but he had the physique of a 25-year-old. And in the same video, they showed images of him swimming, and he'd late in life, I think he'd learned to swim early enough, but late in life he'd taken up swimming and mastered butterfly. I mean, the butterfly stroke always strikes me as something quite unfeasible, and physically, obviously, very, very demanding. So, our lives don't end because we've grown older. It is, however, if you're somewhere in those middle years, worth remembering that you are going to grow older again if you have good fortune, if health and luck is on your side and you grow to a ripe old age. Well, that's good news, but it does mean you're going to get older, and perhaps it's worth doing things to mitigate against the downside of that. Looking after your health, looking after your financial well-being, or perhaps making certain decisions. I mean, the very fact that I'm here filming these videos is because I made a decision at a certain point that I could have carried on teaching, and I enjoyed teaching. But at a certain point, I decided, well, I want to do other things. And so after a 25-year teaching career, I said, enough's enough. It's time to move on. And it was after exactly 25 years since I'd started teaching that I decided, right, I'm moving on. And at that point I was 47. And it struck me that as the thing that I wanted to do, I wasn't sure how it would all work out, but was to continue my art practice, take it more seriously, dedicate some time and see what happens there. And of course, art is something that you can do as long as you live. There will be a way that you can find to express yourself. And so I did. But leaving teaching at 47, it struck me that I had, I'm not sure how long I'm going to live, but let us imagine, given the fact that my grandparents lived to a decent age, as did my father, and people are living longer. Let us imagine 85, 90. That gives me a good 40 years of working as a professional artist, a lifetime of art. Now, maybe my circumstances are very peculiar to me and unusual, out of the ordinary, but I suspect that if you thought a little bit more freely, rid yourself of the constraints that society might place, or you might place via society's sort of pressures, I suspect that most of us have the possibility of starting, at the very least, a second career much later in life. Something that is interesting, that ties together our previous life experiences, the positive ones, learns from the negative ones. Why not? So this idea, this sort of bemoaning of the aging process, well, it's misplaced. And equally, I'm not going to trot out that classic, cliched, soundbitey line, youth is wasted on the young, or whatever it is. No, you do things at the time you're meant to do them, and you need those experiences, and we learn from them. I don't regret the things I did when I was younger, and nor, frankly, do I regret not doing some of the things, even that I with hindsight, would say, well, that's what I should have done. But I don't regret not doing them, because I was making choices based on me then. And all those choices collectively, in the aggregate, have got me here now on my 58th birthday in a little village in the northeast of Brazil. And my life is marvellous. It's not perfect. I have little blemishes to deal with. But my life is great, and I am alive. And I do hope your life is great. Obviously, you are alive if you're watching this. Celebrate it. But don't forget the old Stoic dictum, Momento Mori. Remember, you will die. Your life is finite. Don't waste it. The last few months, all too often I have found myself wasting my time. And that is how I'm going to celebrate my birthday today. I'm going to do some useful things, which I hope this video proves to be one of them. I hope you enjoyed it. Otherwise, I trust your lives are filled with joy. And until next week, from sunny Brazil,